Hey, beautiful family. I've had a busy week this week, so I haven't had a chance to record anything. But I've also had a lot of self-growth and development going on. And I have come to a great awareness in myself of a problem that I think many of you witnessed. At least you saw it unfurling. You saw me unraveling. And I want to talk about that briefly for anyone out there who also might accidentally fall into this trap. I stopped loving myself. I, through no fault of anyone but my own, I think I amplified how ill I was because I wasn't giving myself any self-love. And actually, as I explore the depths of how my ego was, I developed, hell on earth is to live in survival. Heaven on earth is to live in creation. I was in creation. I was in heaven. And what happened was, I stopped giving myself space to stay there. I started to try and exchange my self-love for productivity. And this is a recipe for disaster. So when I first started out, I was very insistent that I had time for my meditation, time for my yoga, time to rest, and of course my running as well. Slowly but surely, this changed. I was subjected to a new way of life. First of all, it started with the children moving in. When the children moved in, life became very different in Feathershill. Now, was that my mistake? Did they need to move? Did I need to stay there? Could I have just employed people? Perhaps, I don't know. But what I do know is that I had to move away from there to heal. Because, first of all, you can't really imagine this situation because I know that it's very rare that this would happen on the planet. But whilst I was in Feathershill, the burden on me was profound. People didn't respect, and that was no fault of theirs, but they didn't respect that I was a man with needs. They just saw me as someone who was willing to help. So the staff would not be organised, and they'd come and knock on my door early on a morning. We need to go to hospital, we don't have any money. This was in the days before we afforded an accountant. But this was in the days before my faith afforded an accountant. Because I was always limiting things. Oh, we can't hire an accountant because we need to do this. We can't hire a driver because we need to do this. And so I was not only the accountant, I was the driver. So you would see me late at night going to the hospital with children. Come back 2-3 in the morning, and then 7 o'clock someone knocking on my door. A human body cannot survive like this. It's just impossible. On top of that, I started to feel low energy, and I started to feel like it was hard work to love like I needed to, because I was starting to pour from an empty cup. And I would go and run late at night just to feel good. But even though I was starved of sleep, even though I was exhausted, I would go to run just to get those endorphins. And I was just pushing my physical body into the ground. And it's absolutely a reality that there is no greater love than to lay down your life for another. But if you want to do that in a sustainable manner and not as a martyr, you have to be able to have energy, love and self-care. There was a period it got so bad in my ego, I would judge people going on holiday, and I would think, how can they go on holiday when these children need help? And I would judge them. That's how stupid my ego got. Now I know I cannot help anybody unless I have holidays sometimes. It's as simple as that. But the pressure of it, the pressure of every day waking up within a few paces from an office where there were people lined up needing help. The pressure of people then coming to you as the fundraising source for that. The pressure of persons coming to you with children in crisis, every day, relentlessly. And I didn't take days off. I stayed like that. Even Christmas Day, I would be at my computer writing posts for the kids, etc. I stopped giving myself love. And I did it bit by bit, thinking, if I just stop doing that, I can do a little bit more of this and help more people. And it started, I guess, from a very tender place, perhaps, a place of reasonable purity. But that quickly descended into a place of ego. Because when you don't give time to be selfish, you become selfish. And what I mean by that is not necessarily selfish, but when you don't give time for self-love, when you don't give time for that, eventually you get empty and you can't feel the need for helping others. You begin to resent it and you start to make bad choices. What will make me happy? When really what you need to take is nothing. And I mean that literally. The nothing you need to take is found in solitude, where you sit still and as a practice, as the very thing that you are doing, as you would sit down to watch the TV in a movie, as you would sit down to a meal, as you might sit down to write or listen to music, you sit down and you breathe as an event, as a task, as a craft, as an art. And that's the nothingness you must take. That's the nothingness that centers you and stills you. And even eventually when I'd go to nature to do that, I'd take my camera with me and I'd record a video. Instead of going for me to be, I would take stuff with me. And eventually I was giving no self-love whatsoever. None.
When you look into your imagination, we'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation, living there. You will see what you truly wish to be. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to once you change the world, nothing to it. There is no life I know that compares with pure imagination. What you'll find when...
And I've no doubt that amplified by illness, because I became addicted to the stress hormones. I became hooked on the fight or flight, and anything that wasn't it felt like I wasn't being productive. But this was a lesson I'd learned long ago, that I must be able to love myself enough to set boundaries, because I did when I first arrived. But bit by bit, trauma by trauma, child by child, I brought down those boundaries because I stopped loving myself enough to set them. And because of that, I've made probably more mistakes than what I should, but we're humans. Anyone who judges another human with malice for making a mistake is a ridiculous person, because they're just not self-ministering the fact that they too make mistakes. But I feel I did make more than what I probably should have because of this behaviour. But above all, I think I crashed my health worse than it needed to because of this also. Because when I needed rest, I was in my bed with my computer. When I needed rest, I was dragging myself up to make a video. When I needed rest, I was on WhatsApp writing, "Are you doing this? Have you done this?" And even bit by bit, I wasn't even productive. I was unproductive. I was becoming aggressive from the tiredness, as all humans do. I was making bad decisions. I was being filled with doubts, and I didn't put trust in people. I was just too weak. And when you're that weak, You're the devil's playground, basically. So, Maya Angelou said something which is very beautiful. She said, as you get older, you realize you have two hands. One for helping others and one for helping yourself. If you really want to have your greatest impact, to love, to bring that love to the world, love yourself first, with as much compassion and tenderness as possible. Because now I've learned this lesson, I will never not love myself again. I will always love myself enough to set a boundary and say, I can't do this right now. I have nothing left to give because I've given too much without giving to myself. And this is the only path to being able to sacrifice yourself in service to a higher good, is if you make an agreement to care for this. Because I wouldn't dare say to my son, you can't sleep now, you have stuff to do. You can't do that, you have stuff to do. You can't have that downtime, that playtime, you have stuff to do. I wouldn't say it to an employee. And yet here I was doing it to myself. It was even a standing joke in Featherstail. The security used to say, you can't catch 5 minutes sleep in Featherstail because John doesn't sleep, so he knows if you do. And sadly, it's true. I did that to myself, and I'll never ever do it again, because I have undoubtedly learned the lesson through a lot of deep meditation and self-awareness, just how hooked on that fight or flight response I was. And if you are imagining that you're being chased by a bear or a lion every single day non-stop, what that does to your hormones, to your nervous system, to your immune system. This is where I was. I would wake up in a state of emergency. The people around me weren't necessarily in a state of emergency, but I was in it because I was getting no time to get out of it. I would wake up and while everyone else was waking up at home who worked with us in Tanzania, they'd wake up, they'd be with their family, they'd get their breakfast and relax. I'd wake up and there'd be a problem. I'd wake up and there'd be work and a need to expand. I'd wake up and there'd be an emergency, or I'd wake up starved of sleep because I'd been driving the night before to hospital because there were too many kids for one person to take care of. And all of this came from my own immaturity, because God would have backed me up long ago. Oh, but I limited God with my faith, because I would walk by faith and not by sight, but I would also limit him. I would say, oh, we can't do that, as if God can't afford to hire a driver for these children, as if I have to do that role to save money. This was the carnal me, the physical me, dancing with the spiritual me, and it wasn't really working out so well. So it's important lesson to get from this. Love yourself with all you can. Give yourself what you need. And secondly, if you're going to go into service, you push that faith. Because had I long ago had the faith to hire the accountant, to hire the driver, even to leave Featherstail and go on holiday for myself, then it would have been okay. And I'll tell you now, before I go, God tried very hard to show me this. Years ago, a lady told me, John, take some time out, go to a lodge and rest. You're burnt out. A friend of mine here in Tanzania. She said, I can see it. Your health, your appearance is disheveled. So I took some children to the lodge. Didn't really go on my own to rest, but took some children, had something to eat, and we spent $40. And I was leaving there, and I was saying, oh God, I'm so sorry. This is how bad my spiritual ego was. I was going, these kids had a wonderful time. They swam, they ate good food. I was with Fritzy and some of the staff as well. It was a wonderful day. But I was saying, oh God, I'm sorry, I spent $40. I could use that $40 for school fees. I could have used it for this. Forgive me, I won't do it again. I went to the local town to go to the supermarket. And it's never happened in Tanzania before, it's never happened since. I had a special needs girl in my arm called Monica. And this man came up and said, is this your daughter? And because she'd held her hand out to him. And I said, no, but We have an NGO and we are very much like a family unit these days, but she is not officially adopted as my daughter. And he said, wow, it sounds amazing what you're doing. And he was playing with her and he opened his wallet and he took out $100 bill and he handed it to me. And he left. And it was like an angel. It was an Indian guy. I've never seen him before, I've never seen him since. But it was like an angel. And I knew then God was telling me, it's okay to give to yourself. But my ego was so loud, was so big, for all it was spiritual in form, still destructive. My ego was so big that it ignored signs like that and still continued with its own belief that it is on a moral hierarchy and must not give any love to this vehicle. Because that's how Satan destroys us in the work that we do, through the carnal mind. Because the carnal mind, when you live from it, from survival, not from the creation of the present moment and God's will, but from your own thoughts, your own schemes, when you live from there, Satan's got you. Because the carnal mind is enmity to the laws of God. Enmity means it simply cannot and does not allow God to function within it. And I'm the evidence for that. And that's why I share this video now. God bless, guys. Love yourself. Love yourself because I love you and I love myself too. Bye.